Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Talk About It. My name is Anne Wiskus. I'll be your host today, and I'm so grateful that you are here and you are joining me. If you are brand new to Talk About It, welcome. It is a post-grad center podcast that posts every single Wednesday, and I am so happy that you are here. Hello, you guys. Hello and welcome. I feel like I need to start this episode with a deep breath. It is 7:30 p.m. on a Friday night, and I can't think of any other place I want to be but with you guys talking about a super great topic. But before we dive into that, how are you? How is 2026? Is it everything that you hoped and dreamed it would be? I hope so. If not, I hope that you're enjoying some things that you're doing for yourself. Personally, I started 2026 with a messed up ankle. Don't ask me how I did it. I don't know how I did it. And it's not even because of the reasons that you might think. I'm just a very clumsy person, and I must have done something walking or running that I just don't fully remember it being that big in the moment. But I woke up the day of New Year's. I was in Florida. I was having so much fun. It was 60, 70 degrees, fantastic, fabulous, awesome, sunny, all of the things. I was like, I'm thriving. And I went for a walk with my brother. It was a long walk, and I literally could not walk. I could not walk normal. I started like limping halfway. I'm like, I'm fine. I'm doing fine. And ever since then, she has been in recovery. I don't know what I did. I don't think it was anything crazy, but it's one of those things where if you push yourself too far, you don't want to make it worse. So I have not worked out this week. Today was actually the first day that I finally worked out for 2026. Thank God. That is like the one thing that I love to do more than anything is do my cycle class, do my yoga class, work out, go on a walk, all that jazz. And I literally have had to have a brace on and just not engage in that. And it's just hard for me to do that. So I am thankful to be back working out, but it's been a long week. Not to mention my first week back into reality. I'm sure a lot of you guys are feeling that way, whether it's schoolwork, work in general, or just back to your routine, right? Out of the holidays, out of the socializing, reminiscing, reflecting, and just taking time to like find your center again. It's just 'tis the season post holiday reality, right? So I feel like we're all kind of in that zone right now, but it's been a week. It's been a week. And I have a really great topic to talk about. I actually tried to record this episode like 4 days ago. It's Friday night. I tried to record it 3 or 4 days ago on Tuesday night, and seriously could not get my words out. I was having one of those days. We all have those days where you just can't speak. You can't explain things the way that you want to explain it. And this isn't like a serious topic, but the way that I was talking about it was very serious. And I'm very vulnerable on this platform that I've created. But again, I've said this in previous episodes where I do talk a lot about my personal life. There's just a lot of details that I don't need to share to the extent that I would share it. And so I'm trying to find that happy medium of like being super vulnerable, but then also not having everyone know my business, you know? So I'm feeling like I'm just ready to just hit it again. I feel like I have a new perspective, a new way to talk about this topic that reflects a lot more that I want it to reflect and will relate to you guys a lot more than it was. So here we go, part 2, attempt 2 of this topic. And I feel like I'm going to get it across the way I want to get it across. And so I'm excited to finally talk about this topic. I'm going to give you a little bit of backstory though, okay? I'm going to give you a little bit of backstory. I went out for the first time in a really long time New Year's Eve. My brother threw a house party, so it wasn't like bar scene going out. But if you know me, you know that I have kind of steered away from really enjoying the bar scene. I don't drink a ton. I don't go out like that. I'll have like a few cocktails at dinner with my friends, or like if I'm out, I like to be responsible now. Like I want to be home at a good time. I want to stay true to my responsibilities and like what I have the next day. And I don't want to be hungover. So I try to be very on top of that. And I don't like to engage in certain things the way that I used to engage. However, I was in Florida. I wasn't leaving my brother's place. So like I didn't have to worry about getting home. It was one of those nights where I was like, all the stars are aligning for me to let loose a little bit and have some fun. And I'm 23 years old. I'm very young. So I was like, let's do it. Like, let's stay up late. Let's get some more drinks. Let's take a few shots. Let's just like have fun and do this lifestyle. Let's like live it. Okay. Just like have a good night. I have had searing anxiety for the past week. I don't know why my body reacts the way it does to a night like that, but it's so hard for me to like enjoy it, to enjoy my time when I let loose like that. The lasting effect of a night like that and the anxiety and the trauma that it creates for me, it's so hard to validate it. It's so hard to be like, that was worth it. And the night was fun. I had so much fun. I met so many people, but part of me felt like I disappointed myself. Part of me felt like I messed up. Because I haven't drank like that or I haven't partied like that in a really long time, I've kind of built up this status and this structure of perfection and this view and this visualization of what a night out should look like, how I should act, how I should be, what I should be doing, what I shouldn't be doing. And when I mess up, and this goes for a lot of different ways, but when I mess up or when I go above or too far with myself, I get so hard on myself and I feel like I disappoint myself. I feel like I am not perfect. And I'm never trying to be perfect, but when you go on a good streak of your routine and the way you want to participate in things and like not letting yourself go overboard for something, regardless of what that is for you or for me, when I do step my toes over that line, I get so down on myself and I am such a hard critic and I literally am so brutal with myself that I feel like I have seriously messed up and I've let myself down. And that's what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about that feeling. And over this week, the way that I have kind of forced myself to get out of that mindset because it's just so toxic. It's just so toxic. So if you are like me and you have created a structure for yourself, a unrealistic lifestyle, or even a perfection scale on the ways that you should be, where your line is, newsflash, no one is perfect, not even you. I got a Diet Coke. I have a Diet Coke today. I felt like it's a Friday night. I would put this in like a little wine glass with some ice cubes, but I'm tired. I'm tired and I just want to live life on the edge, with this can. But cheers to this episode. Cheers to you. Cheers to me. Cheers to being okay with not being perfect, being okay with messing up, being okay with just living life sometimes and learning as you go. Cheers to you. Cheers to me. Cheers to this episode. I'm going to do a little taste test. You guys, I used to never really consider myself a perfectionist when I was younger, and part of me still doesn't consider myself a perfectionist. However, I am someone who struggles to get out of her mind when I let myself down or when I do something that crosses my line. Your extent and your view on this topic could be for many different reasons, whether that's perfectionism in your goals and your schedules and your routines and your habits, even just personally, things that you have learned about yourself that you hold yourself to a certain standard for. And whatever extent that might be that you feel like you didn't do a good job or you let yourself down, this is exactly what that episode is for. Because seriously, how often do you feel like you let yourself down? How often do you put yourself down for making the wrong decision, for falling short? Because me too. Too many times. Too many times. I'm literally my biggest hater when it comes to acting in a way that I feel like lets myself down. Here's the truth about perfection. Here's the truth about this whole conversation. It steals so much joy. It steals so much joy. It steals your control. It steals your care for yourself. Let me create and illustrate a picture for you, okay? Think about your age. That's how many years you have on this earth. Think about all the things that you have done wrong, or the things that you have messed up, or the ways that you might not have lived up to your standards, and think about all the lessons and all the ways that that helped shape you. Think about it. Take a second, and if there's something bothering you right now, if there's something that isn't the way that you want it to be, or if you're struggling with a decision that you made, look in your past and think about the ways that that helped affect your future. I don't know about you, but I allow my decisions, I allow my questions, I allow my uncertainty to make myself feel like I am doing something wrong before I see the result of it. It creates false disappointment for me. I don't know what that result is going to be. If I make a decision to do something, to maybe have an extra drink, okay, to stay out a little longer than I wanted to stay, or if I make a decision to quit my job, if I make a decision to do something different, and if I make a decision to not do this thing in my routine and to switch something up once in a blue moon and to do something different, I don't know what that day, what that decision is going to mean for me, okay? I don't know what that's going to mean for me. But you never know until you do it. Because here's the thing, you have to do things to learn about them. Word on the mouth and word on the street doesn't cut it for a lot of things. Everyone reacts to things differently. As much as I've changed, sometimes it is still beneficial for you to dip your toes in the sand, to even dip your toes in the water, to even put your feet in the water and see if you still feel the same way about it or if your feelings have changed. Who knows? If I didn't stay out that late, if I didn't do the decisions that I did, if I didn't drink the way that I drank, I might wonder randomly on a random day, I wonder if a night out would be fun. I wonder if I would be as hungover as I would. I wonder if something crazy could happen that can change my whole life direction, right? I know that's an interesting perspective, but a lot of the times we dim ourselves and we are too hard on ourselves for making decisions without knowing the result. We create false disappointment for ourselves and we're like, oh my gosh, I didn't do the right thing by myself, or I made this decision and I feel like that was a mistake, or I regret what I did. But here's the thing. If you made that decision, who's to say or who's not to say that that didn't save you from making an even worse decision 2 weeks later? Every decision that you make, whether you agree with it or whether you don't agree with it, helps shape you to the trajectory of your life. Whether you agree with it, whether you don't agree with it, it helps shape you. And instead of being so hard on yourself, being so negative, being so difficult with allowing yourself to be okay with the decision that you made or the choice that you made that steered you away from the route that you're normally on, whether that's your perfection route or whether that's just a route that you're comfortable with, shift your perspective onto being thankful that you made that decision. Being thankful that you made that decision now, that you reminded yourself of that now, or that you learned that now. Because perfectionism and creating all of these structures for ourselves that we have to live by, and if we steer out of the way of that, we'll mess up and we won't live up to our own expectations, whatever that means for you and whatever realm that is for you. It puts us in a box and it doesn't make us feel safe to go outside of it. I've become a person who is really afraid to live life sometimes, who is really afraid to take risks. And I feel like I've kind of become very stuck up with my decisions. And as much as I love being a grandma and literally going to bed at 9 o'clock, I am young. I am young. And once in a blue moon, it does not kill you to do something fun. However, sometimes when I do have those nights and I allow myself to kind of go beyond what I'm even comfortable with, that's when I have a night like I did last week. I have to instead be thankful that I reminded myself about how I feel about that decision, how I feel about that action, how I feel about that environment. But I also can't get mad or down on myself when I have one of those nights that I relearn my lesson. Sometimes it takes a couple times to learn your lesson. Sometimes you can't just memorize something once, or you can't just understand something once. Sometimes you have to reread it. You have to refigure it out. You have to take a second, process it, and learn about it in order to move forward onto the next page, or the next chapter, or the next book. Don't create false disappointment for yourself. Learn from it, be okay with it, and don't put yourself to this standard that's unreachable, that doesn't benefit you. This standard and holding yourself to this level of perfectionism where you can't learn, you can't grow, you can't get outside your comfort zone, it keeps you in a box. I think the one thing that I do a lot is I get really down on myself really easily. Most of the time, my view of perfection isn't even like what most people would view the definition of perfection to be. My issue with my level of perfectionism or the standards that I have for myself in certain areas is once I learn a lesson, I don't want to relearn it. I don't want to make that same mistake again. From things that I have had to go through in my past where I have made certain mistakes, or I've made certain choices, or I've done things wrong and I've fallen short, or etc. Anything that I've done. Hence, drinking as much as I did on New Year's. I haven't done that in a really, really, really long time due to lessons that I have learned in the past. I get really, really down on myself. And I struggle to be okay with that. I struggle to be okay with letting myself, quote unquote, down. It's not just about the perfectionism of getting straight A's in school, okay? Of course I wanted that, but that wasn't what I put myself down with. It was everything personally. It was what was in my heart and the things that affected me emotionally and mentally that screwed me up. And I don't know if you guys even relate to this. I don't know if there's people who relate to it the same way I do. But I am so hard on myself when I make a mistake, when I do things wrong, when I have to relearn a lesson or make the same mistake again. But here's the bulk of what I want to talk about when it comes to this topic, okay? Because this is the bulk of what helped me, okay? I have mentioned the story of Mary Magdalene. I've mentioned it, I think in my QA episode a while ago, I mentioned how much I relate to her story. If you don't know Mary Magdalene, basically, she's a figure in the Bible, and long story short, she was a prostitute. She had demons inside of her, and she was living a life that was far from the version that she used to be, the person that she used to be. She was far from herself. She was far from God. And basically, Jesus found her, called her by her name, and casted out all the demons. I'm obviously spark noting this, right? Of like really condensing what it is. It's a fantastic story, but throughout her time following Jesus, because she was following Jesus when he first started pulling together his disciples without them even knowing that they were his disciples. And she was following him as he was doing Sermon on the Mount and et cetera, et cetera. There were points where she didn't feel worthy. There were points where she fell back into her old habits. There were points when she wasn't living the life that she felt Jesus called her to live, where she felt like she wasn't good enough. She wasn't perfect enough. And she was having all these personal struggles where she fell back to drinking. She fell back to loneliness and feeling like she wasn't worthy. She wasn't worthy of God's love. And I think about that story so much because it shows humanity. It shows that God didn't just choose people based off of perfection. In fact, no one he chose was perfect. No one he chose was perfect. Everyone had their faults. Everyone had things that they regretted. Everyone had things that Jesus knew made them struggle. But he chose them because of their heart. He chose them because of how they followed him. They chose him because of where their heart posture and their mind was set on. And so I tell you this because this is what I have to tell myself. Regardless of anything that you do, regardless of the mistakes that you continue to make, you continue to fall short of, the ways that you don't live up to your standards, the things that you have to relearn, the lessons that you have to relive, just because you do those things does not make you any less. If you feel less, that is Satan, that is not God. God knew that I was going to relearn that lesson. God knew that I was going to make those mistakes again. And the only thing that I can do coming out of it, I have to pray to him. Pray to him, thank him for reminding me that that's not the lifestyle that I want a lifestyle surrounded by God, and that I want a center grounded in God, that that's my focus. Being thankful that he's removed me and healed me from that lifestyle and my past. And even if I make that mistake, that doesn't mean I'm falling any shorter. It means I'm human. Because these unrealistic standards that we are putting ourselves at, they're not meant for us. It's good to have standards for yourself. It's good to want to hold yourself to a level of success. But don't mistake success for perfection. Don't get hard on yourself when you fall short. God doesn't love you any less for falling short. If your heart seeks him and your mind wants to be better, he is there for you. God sees you for you. God sees me for me. And whatever I find bringing me anxiety, bringing me stress, God wants to relieve us from that. That's what makes us the same. God wants to relieve us from that. And all we have to do is let him. He doesn't want us to live a life of shame. In fact, he removes us and takes us from that. Satan doesn't love you, so he wants you to suffer. But God loves you, and he wants you to be in freedom. He wants you to live in love and to live in peace. He doesn't want you to be replaying the mistakes that you made or to be afraid to make mistakes. He wants you and is okay with you making mistakes as long as you love him and want to be better and want to follow him and learn about it. But I hope that you like this episode, you guys, and I hope that this is just a short, sweet reminder of our perspectives and what we need to give ourselves grace on. Because it's so easy to give grace to other people, but it's nearly impossible to give yourself grace sometimes. But you guys, I love you so very much. If you like this episode, let me know. Like, comment, subscribe, follow, rate, send me a message, all of the things, you guys. I am so exhausted. I don't know if you can tell. I'm having one of those days where I'm just I could literally fall asleep right in this moment. But I was feeling very passionate about this message, specifically about how God has helped me through it and helped me through this week and the things that he's reminded me of about myself. And I just felt like in this time, it's really important to remind you guys of that as well, because newsflash, no one's perfect, not even you. But you guys, I will see you very soon. I love you so very much. Take care of yourself this season, and I will see you so very soon.